Whose vision was that? Was that entirely Kubrick's?
No, I think it was a lot of people contributed to HAL over time. Harry Lange, who was one of the production designers on the movie, was a protege of Werner von Braun.
The famous
So-
German rocket
Yeah,
scientist.
German, he made the V2 rockets. And so a lot of the design of the movie, including HAL and the panels and the spacecraft and everything, had a lot of input from him. And prior to the making of 2001, Bell Laboratories was working with synthetic voices, and Kubrick was experimenting with all kinds of synthetic voice synthesis, which always sounded like a robot.
Right.
We're going to go to Mars. You know, that kind of, and well, they tried that and decided, well, that was not going to work. And then he said, well, I want to use a real actor performing in a way that I would like. And I think there was a test with Marty Balsam that for some reason didn't go well or never happened. I don't know what it was. But Douglas Rain, who performed Hal, came from this movie Universe, which was made by the National Film Board of Canada that predated 2001, that we all looked at. Kubrick wanted us to see this film. I saw this film. I have a copy of this film to this day. And if any of you ever want to see a really beautiful animated film about the universe, it's this movie. And he's the narrator. Hal is the narrator.
That's some excellent
Hal
trivia.
ahead of Hal. So anyway, there's something happened. Something went wrong with Douglas Rain about his performance of Hal. He felt underpaid or underappreciated or something. He got a very negative attitude about being noted for being Hal's voice, and so he doesn't like to do Hal's voice. He's done it a couple of times, but he is averse to it. And when I started developing a documentary film about 2001, I wanted to hire him, and I talked to him. And I gotta tell you, it's really weird to get on the phone with Hal. And he said, no. He said, I understand why you're calling, Doug, but no. Not opening anything for you.
Good about that. How is that or is it the descendant, ancestor, culmination of the work that you've been doing since you began 2001?
Well, the Ufotog film, which you're all invited to come and see Sunday.
3 showings on
3
Sunday.
screenings. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. If you go out here, you get a free pass. When I was working on 2001 with Kubrick, and we started going through our own learning curve about the giant screen and Cinerama and 70 millimeter, none of us had done anything quite like this before, and we started finding out that there's certain things you just can't do at 24 frames a second. You can't do on the big screen. The big screen actually exaggerates the deficiencies of 24 frame movies. It makes all your flaws more visible, et cetera, et cetera. So 2001 in general, to try to make this a long story short, we can talk about it more later, it just set me on this path of wanting to make this more immersive cinema. And I loved working with him. I loved working on the movie. I loved what Stanley was trying to do, which was to embrace the audience as co-adventurers and get out of the way. So he didn't want to cut back to Keir Delay. I mean, we shot shots of Keir Delay in the pod going through the Stargate, and he says, no, you are going through the Stargate. So get Keir Delay the hell out of those shots. And so we started abandoning, conventional reverse angles and reaction shots and things like that. Because I want the audience to feel like they have become him, and they're on this trip, and they're going to go into some other dimension.
And the Stargate was your creation.
It was, and it was that attitude that really floored me. And I thought he was absolutely right. And I thought, well, count me in. I want to be in the movie business. And then we multiplexed the movie business very badly, and got rid of the big screens and chopped them up into small plexes. And I've been striving all my life to get back to this kind of spectacular immersion. And I think we've just finally reached the threshold with this Ufotog thing. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, unlike anything you've ever seen. You have to critique me. You may not like it. You may like it a lot. I don't know. But you haven't even seen it yet. But it's 60 frames it's 120 frames a second, 3D, 4K resolution on a giant screen. And it's just a whole other animal, and it opens up a whole new territory for a new kind of filmmaking that I intend to explore. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But one of the reasons I thought was, we'll do this kind of thing. I said, well, there's a really interesting theme going on here that I really think is vitally important, which is mankind going to come into contact with anybody else in the universe? Is there life in the universe? That's what 2001 was about. And even then, when I listened to the dialogue in 2001, and I realized Kubrick and Clarke, who wrote a lot about it at the same time, but even then, 45 years ago, something like that, they were speculating that there are 100 or some 100 billion habitable planets on our galaxy. 100 billion, I think it was the number they said. And we've just found out now that there's actually probably 800 billion habitable planets in our galaxy. And there's probably 800 billion galaxies. And so the possibility of life in the universe has increased tremendously just in the last few years, and being proven to be extremely likely. So the theme of alien contact is very big to me. I think it's going to be the greatest story ever told. And so I'm very immersed in that. And I started looking for UFOs myself. Stanley Kubrick has written about, he and Arthur Clarke were standing on a balcony at his apartment in New York and saw some really strange light go over and stop and then reverse. And some NASA guy said, oh no, that was the Echo satellite. It has a weird orbit, which is completely bogus. And so they were thinking about it then. 2001 is about alien contact. It's about alien intervention in human affairs over millennia. And Close Encounters is as well. And I wanted to tell a story. We're going to have to wind this up because we got to get on with the movie. I will tell one thing about Close Encounters. If you want to come to Close Encounters tomorrow, if you get any sleep tonight, I made this really interesting connection. Because I was working on the movie. I'm very immersed in my problems. I have to make a mothership. I have to make these UFOs. While Truffaut was playing Lacombe, the French UFO researcher. I didn't find out until many, many years later, just a few years ago, that this is a real character. That Steven Spielberg had read the books of a guy named Jacques Vallée, who is the French guy who's been researching UFOs all of his life, ever since he saw a UFO land in his backyard when he was 11 years old, just in a suburb of France. And it completely transformed his life trajectory. He said, I saw one. It was absolutely a real thing. It wasn't a hallucination. A friend of his down the street saw the same thing. And so Jacques Vallée has been writing books about UFOs forever. And so I'm saying, oh my God, that means that Close Encounters is true.
You made a documentary.
That means there was an exchange of personnel. That means there was a mothership. That means there were people abducted. That means all kinds of things. And so it just gave me a whole new slant on this issue that is here in this festival of alien contact. Now, I don't believe that aliens are out here to eat us or take our planet or suck up our atmosphere or anything. I think there's something really much bigger than that going on, and I'd like to know what it is. So I started photographing UFOs. It led to this little movie. It's a fictional movie,
it's a
but
fictional
it kind of
movie.
looks kind of realistic.
Right, because it'll make you a believer. Last question, do you have an obelisk in your backyard?
No, I don't, but Arthur Clarke did.
Oh, did you? All right, folks, we're going to keep this short because, as you know, the movie is long. But we're going to come back at the end, and at the end of the movie, we're going to be taking questions, or Doug is going to be taking questions from you all. So, as you watch the movie, think about what you want to ask him.
And while we talk, at the end of the movie, we'll take a little break because you guys all got to go get some popcorn or bathroom or whatever. But I'll be showing a whole bunch of slides of the making of 2001 behind the scenes. So we'll just let that run. Thank you. It's part of a show I did with Tom Hanks a couple of years ago, The Academy, about 2001. So I hope it'll give you a little insight, and it may spur some questions as they go by. You might say, oh, what's that, or what's that? That's great. So thank you very much. We'll watch the movie.
All right.
And be transported.
Thank you.